Other than that, let's go ahead and go into the community moment. Now, a community moment is a chance for a member of our community to come up and share something about their life experience, something about their journey that they think might be interesting to everyone else, or even just to talk about something that they're particularly interested in. This week we have the lovely Amanda Cower. She is a phenomenal human being. Most of you probably already know her. I asked her for 3 words to describe herself, and well, first I asked Jay for 3 words to describe her, and he was like, I'm not taking that name, buddy. And so, Amanda's words were happy, feminist, and engineer, which I think is pretty succinct. And then asked what her warning label would be. She said, I'm like a hedgehog. I can be slightly prickly. Amanda, why don't you come up? Are you on?
The green light is on. Oh, yeah. Okay.
All right, take it away.
Can you... Yeah, that thing. Details. I've been watching Fargo too much, so my South Dakota accent has come back, so I'll hear you Metros at the Fresno. So, I think my last 2 community moments made people cry, so I'm going to take it a different direction now and talk about what I do instead. I've been gone for the last 2 months, and everyone always asks me why I'm gone so much, so I thought I would tell you all what I've been doing. And I'm Amanda Cower, and I have a website, eechick.com. Shameless plug. So, I'm gone because Fukushima. So, this picture here kind of demonstrates what went wrong. That first thing, E, that's their design basis, water block, and you can see by the line up above that that's where the water actually went. So that's basically, what caused it. So, after this happened, we didn't ignore it. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission went into, created a task force, looked into the event, tried to figure out what happened and if it would happen here. And they concluded that a Fukushima event is unlikely to happen in the United States. But to make doubly sure of that, they issued EA 12049, which is a really exciting federal law. That is the order to modify licenses with regard to requirements for mitigation strategies for beyond design basis external events. So there's your lawyer ease for the day, which is a lot of what I end up dealing with. So it's basically designed for a beyond design basis event. So all of the nuclear plants are designed for what the but the worst event recorded is. So they're, like, for example, if you're in Kansas, they're designed to, withstand 100-mile-per-hour winds and tornadoes and that sort of a thing. Or if you're, on the coast, you're designed to block the waves in case something happens. So that's what beyond design basis event, that's what they called it to be exciting. So there's 3 phases their response. The first one is for the first 8 hours. They're going to be able to just respond with what they have on site, basically install equipment, battery power, and that sort of a thing. And so during those 0 to 8 hours, they're able to kind of get all of their equipment into place. And so after that, in the transition phase from 8 to 72 hours, they're able to take like generators and pumps and have them all set up so that there's now an external way of getting power, or water, because basically the entire point of the Fukushima event was to fill up the spent fuel pool, because that was what went wrong. Basically, was they didn't know what their level was in the spent fuel pool, and they had no way to get water to it. So that's the overarching theme of this. And so the final phase, which is 72 hours, is using offsite resources. So the nuclear industry has now built 2 storage facilities on each side of the country that have really big generators and really big pumps and equipment that can basically be airlifted in case of an event. So they give about 3 days to get like all the debris cleared off the road and the helicopters farmers to come in and that sort of a thing. And so basically the plants need to get by with what they have on site for the first 3 days, and then external help will arrive. So here's a pretty picture of the site. So you can kind of see they have the three mitigating strategies. The first one is you install battery banks in your pumps. And then the portable ones, which are on site, they come in with your hoses and your diesel generators. And then the regional response, which is, flying things in, trucking in more diesel fuel, and that sort of a thing. So this is what I've been working on for like the last 2 years, 3 years, a while. All of the plants across the United States are spending, like millions of dollars to make sure that Fukushima doesn't happen here. So it's a pretty big deal in the industry. So the part that I'm working on is the electrical portion of the transition phase. So a big part of it is putting in generator connections, and a lot of them. So basically, they need at least 2 places to plug generators in case one, and they have to be pretty separate from each other just in case one area gets blocked off. So they'll have a second area to be a backup. The other thing is emergency power outlets for pumps that are, connected into those generators. Communications. The site already has satellite communications and a lot of devices to do that, but they now have a backup satellite phones where they can set up like a big antenna and connect into it, and then in case their equipment goes down and their telephone's out, they can still get a hold of help outside. And then the last thing is spent fuel pool instrumentation. Again, during the event, they didn't know what the level of their water was. They thought they had water, but they didn't. So the level got too low, and that's kind of where the explosion came from. So they're putting in a second form of indication that they can access remotely that will be, I guess, more up to speed than their old ones were. So. And where do I do this? I do this in quite a few places. The nice one is the one close by, Wolf Creek, which is this guy. This is in Burlington, Kansas. It's about an hour and a half south of here. And then the other one that I do a lot of work at is Callaway, which is in Fulton, Missouri. It's not too far from Lake Columbia. It's about an hour from there. If you watch House of Cards, like I do, you mentioned going to the Fulton plant, which is Callaway. I was really excited about that when that was on the TV show. The other one is Pilgrim. I went there in March, April, and May. That's about 40 miles south of Boston. That was really interesting. I just learned to not tell anybody my job because everyone on the East Coast for some reason is like terrified of nuclear. And if I told them what I was doing, then they would like lecture me about how awful it was. And I just really wasn't interested in their misinformation and unneeded fears. Actually, it's kind of sad. About 2 weeks ago, they announced that Pilgrim is going to be shutting down by 2019. So one of the things that happens, the reason that they are like that is because the Northeast Coast is an unregulated market, which basically means that nuclear plants have to compete with the prices that solar, coal, and wind put out. And nuclear is inherently a little bit more expensive to run, but it's constant, and so basically we're priced out of their market is a big thing of what happened. So, and then the most recent place that I've been is Waterford 3, which is about 40 miles outside of New Orleans. Waterford 3 is kind of interesting. It's right next to the Mississippi River, and if you've ever been down there, you've seen the big earth levees that are pretty tall. So Waterford 3 is built at sea level, which is 0, and most of the time the Mississippi River is at plus 34 elevation, so when you're in the buildings there, you can see the barges coming by, which is really cool and also somewhat scary. So part of their their mitigation strategies, since obviously the thing that they have to worry about is floods. They're actually building one of their storage facilities is actually on top of one of their other buildings, so it's definitely won't go underwater, which is kind of interesting. I think it's the only site that's doing something like that, just based on their location and their individual needs. So, yep, that's what I do. And that's where I'm gone all the time, so, thanks.